Nithin, thank you so much for joining today. And in the last 2 months, all of us had time to reflect. All of us had, at least we thought we all had time to reflect. And if you had to look at your last 10 years of building Zerodha, what would you say? What has your story been? What is your story?
So this whole business started off trying to. So I used to trade the markets. I used to be a very active day trader, and I used to very actively trade futures and options. So back in 2009, this whole idea hit that need a better broker uh, to what we were having as traders. No, but then my younger brother had joined me, and he was a better trader than I was. So I didn't see a point, firstly, to sit down and trade when he was trading better. And secondly, there was this whole gap of not having a broker that you wanted as a trader. So it started off like that, and it was meant for only active futures and options traders. And then during the journey, it kind of it shifted direction, and we are something else today to what we wanted to be the day one we started. And I think the most proud I am is about the fact that is a team. The core team, the first 100, they're all still working with us, right? In our tech team, for example, I'm actually most proud about our tech team within our overall team. It's a 30-member. It's almost like a superhuman X-Men kind of a team. No one believes that our business is actually being powered by a 30-member tech team. And so in our overall core team and the entire operations, we have hardly had anyone leave. The tech team, I think one or two over the last 6 years have actually left the business, so on their own. So I think I'm actually most proud about the fact that all of us are still doing this as if it's a day one, and somehow we've been lucky that the business also worked out along the way. Um, so if you were to ask me, I mean, of course, I'm proud about my products and all of that, blah blah. But I think at the heart of everything is the people, and I'm most proud of the people who are part of the business.
I read
Yeah.
this in Harvard Business Review that the growth of company comes in 6 categories. You say that a company is growing if in any of these 6 categories or all of these 6 categories you show a significant shift. So the 6 categories to define a company's growth are, let me read it: new processes, new experiences, new features, new customers, new offerings, new models.
Yeah.
The unprecedented growth that you have seen, the growth that you have chartered, if you could take us through each of the categories or any of the categories which worked for you that led to that significant growth that you've seen in Zerodha.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, see, a lot of people, look at Zerodha from 2010 to now and say this is our 10 years of business, right? But then I started trading the markets in '97. So there was 13 years before Zerodha that actually went into it. So actually, if you were to look at my journey as a person running this broking business, is actually 23 years, and it's kind of evolved. So Zerodha's actually journey, in a sense, is actually 23 years. The day I started trading the markets is when maybe the business started, and but 2010, if you were to look at 2010 as when we started the business, I think so. Um, the differentiator was the pricing. It was the pricing model. There was no technology. I mean, the only tech I've done, I've said this before, is only Excel in my life. So I mean, even till date, right? I probably know how to add and subtract on Excel. So that's about it. So when we started the business, there was no tech, there was nothing. I mean, we were just a bunch of active traders who saw almost like an arbitrage opportunity. So what happened was in 2007, the National Stock Exchange, the largest in India, so they started offering a free trading platform for brokers. So what we spotted when we started Zerodha was like an arbitrage opportunity. So you're getting technology free of cost. So you said, is there an opportunity to disrupt on the pricing, right? And generally, the problem I think in financial services businesses is they're very opaque in the way they work, right? As in, pick up your credit card and try to figure how much you're actually paying, right? As in, it's extremely tough, and So when we started the business, we were focusing on people who are trying to trade for a living, right? And costs are a very significant portion of that, right? And so we said, if technology is coming free and in an online world, so before Zerodha happened, the industry standard in India was to charge a percentage brokerage, right? What it meant is, if you buy for a lakh rupees, you pay 1,000 rupees as brokerage. You buy for 10 lakh rupees, you pay 10,000 rupees as a brokerage. But in an online world, the cost of executing the trade is the same. Right? For us, the cost doesn't go up because you bought for 10 lakh rupees, right? So then the question was, if the cost doesn't go up, why should the brokerage cost go up? In a sense. So we started with this whole flat fees per trade. The second thing that happens in financial services firms is, you have this differential deals for people based on your net worth. Right? You're a high net worth guy, you get this relationship manager and all of these fancy things. You don't have money. So we said, so the leverage we got by going flat fee per trade is that we didn't have to differentiate our customers based on how much their net worth is, right? So which meant that we could now be transparent, right? One of the reasons financial services firms aren't transparent is because they offer different things to different people. So you can't really come out in the open and talk about it. So yeah, when we started the business, it was essentially low cost and transparency. So you could say processes and pricing. But then 3 years into the journey, the first competitor came by who said the same thing that we were saying, right? Which is, I'm low cost, I'm transparent, I'm using this vendor trading platform, right? That's when the realization was that, unless you kind of build a edge over the product, there is no way you can stick around doing this. So I was extremely lucky to find Kailash, who heads our tech, to come join us. And around him is when we started building our, the tech piece. And K is almost like a Superman in tech, in a sense, So he's just single-handedly done so much; it's unbelievable. And so 2015 is when we launched our product, which in-house product. So the differentiator from 2015 till now has actually been product, followed by pricing, followed by transparency, and yeah. So so if I have to how to say what is really work for us.
Right, like, so you're saying process and of course experience, because you were the first one to give that experience to everyone, right? Transparent experience.
Absolutely.
And features, so product you're saying came after 2015.
After 2015, our growth also has been actually after 2015. The first 5-6 years of the business, we spent, I think we had like 75,000 customers. And the last 4 years, we've had 2.5 million customers, So,
Wow.
so it's, I mean, there were a couple of other enablers in the last 4 years. One was, this whole demonetization, how it's benefited a lot of people. It benefited us as well, because onboarding a customer was the biggest challenge in this business, physical documents, etc. So thanks to Demon, people started using Aadhaar. Because of Aadhaar, people started onboarding online. That was one really big tipping point for us as a business. But the last 4 years has been about product. I mean, I think you can experience kind of comes under product, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And the model itself, the business model, which is a flat fees, transparent kind of a pricing model. And so these two are probably the key reasons for the success of the business.
Yeah. So basically, what we have as 6 categories. So new processes, new experiences, new features, offerings, and new model.
Actually, yeah, you could, kind of everything.
And new customers also, because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that we did, which has kind of worked really well, is we started our education initiative in 2015. It's called Varsity, and
what is called
it's Varsity.
varsity.
Varsity, and I think in the world right now, it's probably in the top 3 on capital market. Education on capital. It's complete MOOC. There is no advertisement. There is nothing. So we just do it for the kick of it. As in, we just want to share as much as we can. So Karthik, who runs this, has done a phenomenal job. So every day we have, I don't think you would see as much engagement on those varsity chapters. We have like chapters with hundreds and hundreds of comments and queries, and it's almost like a combination of wiki plus a Quora, in a sense. You have a format which explains something, and then you have an engagement at the bottom, like Quora. So So that's done. So yeah, so that is what has done is that's enabled a lot of new customers. A lot of people have read because finance is not what we are taught in school and colleges in India, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know only fixed deposit by the time we get our first job, so right, and so someone has to explain it in a non-intimidating kind of a way, and I think we've done it decently well in varsity, and that's paid us like really good dividends over the last many years. So a lot of first-time investors come join us because of that.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. And that also you started in 2015.
Yeah, I mean 14, 15, around that time. But then the thing is, this whole concept of sharing, I've been doing this from 90, 98, 19. I used to run one of the biggest online communities on stock markets before in my previous avatar, in my pseudo form. I used to not call myself Nithin. I had like one of those names. So I used to be very active on a lot of stock market communities. I used to run some of the biggest Yahoo Messenger groups on stock markets. And so this whole business of sharing knowledge, that's been happening for a long time. And so even when we started Zerodha, we put out the blog. Our blog is called as Reconnect, where we I actively started writing and interacting with customers. And I think people, again, as I said, right, in this whole financial services business, no one likes to put their head on the table, right? As in, it's you wouldn't ever be able to interact with a CEO of a brokerage firm or on an open forum. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
doing, I mean, it has its own drawbacks. I mean, if something goes bad, I get butchered. So, but it's kind of helped us grow the business. So, so yeah, so I've this whole sharing knowledge has been happening all this while. We haven't spent a single rupee on hiring a SEO, SCM, whatever, those kind of guys. Everything has been organic. And today, if you query most things around capital markets in India, you'll probably land up on one of our pages. And that's built organically. It's we have never spent money to do that, um, so yeah, so stuff like that, so has helped us quite a bit.
So two things which you also mentioned, one is the education, the varsity that you have, and giving people knowledge, sharing knowledge freely was one. And second thing I've picked up is that the transparency, like you out there present talking, and for whatever butchering that might happen once in a while, what has stayed with people is that Zerodha is a brand that can be trusted, and it's transparent and open.
Absolutely. And in the business of money, right, credibility is extremely important.
Yeah.
Right? People don't trust. I mean, I might go on a website and buy for 500 rupees worth of, say, dog food. Okay, but I wouldn't go on a website and save 500 rupees if
Yeah.
I didn't know that this business is trustworthy or they're gonna stick around, right?
Yeah.
So I think the last 3-4 years growth is also because we put 6-7 years of trying to gain credibility. So it's so the business of money. I don't think there is any overnight success. I don't think there are products that you wake up and in 15 days it's like a blockbuster, right? As in you probably have a lot of that happening in media and all of that, right? But in business of money, it takes a long time for credibility to be built.
Very buzzword, because we are all looking for billion-dollar startups and unicorns. These are the most sought after lexicons. But I want to ask you, not easy, right? Not easy to build this kind of large valued business, and doing it while bootstrapped. This, and then I'm just again going on record to say that this is something we all in this country need to salute, celebrate, and really, really look up to. So tell us, was it a choice? And if it was a choice, what did it mean? And because you've stayed the course like that.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it wasn't a choice, actually, to be very honest. So
Really?
no, when you start the business, I was extremely raw. I look at my first presentation that I had made to explain to someone what we want to do with Zerodha. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't fund a startup like that. you know? So, in 2010, when we started our business, right, it was probably the worst years for stockbroking industry, because 2008, after the whole financial crisis, there was no activity. Everything was
Yeah.
dead. All stockbrokers were trying to go out and do other things in life. And so we were trying to go and say, oh, no, I want to become a stockbroker. So I don't think it was a like I keep talking about it. There's a very thin line between this whole foolishness and passion. If it works out, you're called passionate. If it doesn't, you're foolish. So when he started, there was no real option. I mean, we tried whatever we can.
But did you look at raising money when you started?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did?
I did. But then, I didn't really get an audience with a lot of these big. I mean, it never really went till there, because. And 2010 wasn't really, even the hot times of VC money.
No, I understand 2010 because 2008, we were in CNBC 2007, how the market had crashed in September, and it was such a bad sentiment. 2008 end onwards, 9, 10. I think it stayed till 11 or something.
Yeah. The markets were bad till 11, 12. So.
Yeah.
Right. When we started, we were, as I said, we couldn't really raise, any professional VC money, etc. But then we started making money in the second year of the business.
Okay.
Right? And I think the tough ones has been the last 3 years because every person wants to give money, right? And saying no to money is not very easy, especially when the checks, start sounding bigger, right? As in, but the thing is, there is no use of the money. If there was a use of the money, I would have raised it, right? As in, because the thing is, this whole stock market business, right? You don't get up one day and say, I want to invest in stocks, right? You get up one day and you probably say, I want to buy a mobile phone, I want to buy, whatever, right? As in, you don't get up and say, I want to buy, I want to invest in the markets, right? So usually there is an enabler, right? Say we both are friends, we're having a drink, and I say, you know what, I bought this stock. It went up. So you will probably tell, Nithin, can you help me? What is this stock, right? So that's how people get introduced to the markets. And that's how I got introduced. That's how all my friends got introduced, right? And so it never made sense to go out and do advertising and marketing because I knew that no one is going to look at an ad and start investing in markets, right? And and the other thing here is, they might look at an ad and open an account, right? But opening an account is not equal to, is not equal to generating business, right?
Yes.
And in this business of ours, every account comes with a compliance cost, right? Because we are regulated. So, every account you open, you're kind of liable to what this person does in the, everywhere else as well, right? Imagine a terrorist open an account with you, right? And then, someone's going to come and ask you, how did you open this fellow's account?
Yeah.
Right? So we never did that whole thing of opening free accounts just to show a big number of accounts. We've never given any cash back. Nothing like that. So we are probably the only brokers who charge an account opening fees to open an account. Right? We actually, we've been charging 300 rupees as account opening fees just to be sure that we are not opening accounts for people who are not serious.
Yeah.
And we started making money in 2012-13, But then there was never this whole rush of suddenly growing fast, right? There was no suddenly I didn't get up one day and said, I want to grow 100%. Accidentally we grew 100%. It was never planned. Even today, a lot of people ask me, dude, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. How do I tell you what happens in 5 years? Of course, we are going towards this goal of a product the way we visualize, and all of that. But this whole concept of trying to move your business around to somehow match to a certain random goal that is set, I don't know. I find it weird, because especially in our business where how we do as a company has got a lot to do with how the underlying stock market does, right? We are like a high beta stock, so if markets do well, people want to trade more. If markets don't do well, so there's already all of that volatility, and on top of that, somehow for me to sit down and figure all this, it's almost like voodoo, it's trying to figure how much growth will happen, etc.
No, but don't you think this is voodoo for all businesses, right?
I think there is more. I think predictability wise, I think other businesses are a little more predictable, because in our business, I have to also predict what Nifty is doing. Right? If you were to ask me, Nithin, what do you think will happen to the Nifty, to your business? First question will be like, what do you think will happen to Nifty? You tell me what happens to Nifty, then I'll tell you, because we are we are such high beta as a business with the Nifty that now, so we almost move in sync. So we never advertise or marketed, did any marketing. And I think if you don't really do that, there isn't really a big cost to run a business in this country. Right? I mean, I think the most people end up blowing money on marketing and advertisement. That's usually the biggest cost. And the other thing that we've done, I think, well, is in the way we have hired people. Right? We have hired people who have come with no baggage. And almost most people who have joined the business have been those 20 to 25-year-olds, who have come, joined us, and grown along with us. That is, I mean, it's nothing to do against people from IIT, IIM, etc. But we don't have a single that IIT, IIM crowd. Not a single person in a company. We are right, because not it was not out of choice. It was because once we started building this business in a certain culture, right, we found it extremely tough for people who come with a different culture to come fit into this, right? And and this whole this whole bootstrapping, etc. It's just accidental. I mean, it's not like I mean, today we end up getting a lot of PR for this, and PR is good for us because it helps us garner more credibility as a business. But bootstrap wasn't an option in the first few years. But the last few years it has, because firstly, I don't know what I'll do with the money, and second is a lot of people say take secondary and take this much money home. I mean, of course, we make money. We're a profitable company. We take money home. So it's not that all the money is kept back in the business. We actually dividend out money, and so a lot of people come offered the secondary. But the thing is, one of the biggest reasons for the success of our business is how nimble we are as a business, right? And that nimbleness comes because there is no, I'd actually say because there is no outside investor, right? So we are a large company in the way we operate. So I was just joking the other day. We are like this elephant in the stockbroking business, but we are an elephant which can actually run like a cheetah, in the sense, which is the edge we have. And I'm not really sure if raising money, by raising money, I don't want to lose that edge that we have over our competition, right? Because right now I could be talking something with you. Now we finish this conversation, and I could just speak to our team, and we could come up with a product. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest, the tipping point of our business was.
Before you say, most entrepreneurs who would have raised would feel jealous of you also at this point.
No. I mean, but the thing is, I think, okay, why did it work for us? Bootstrapping, right? I think in a business, right? Business is almost like playing a sport, right? You need to have some kind of an edge over your competition, right? You can't really fight between equals, right? Because that fight's gonna go nowhere, right? So either you have to have an edge in terms of core competency, or you have to have edge in terms of deep pockets, right? So you have either one of these to actually win this in this competition, right? So you have deep pockets, you wait till the other bleeds out. Or if you have this whole core competency and you have some other kind of a moat, in our business we also have this whole benefit of the regulatory moat. Regulations, are red tape and blah blah blah. But then once you're on the other side of it, it actually is a moat. I mean, it protects you from competition as well, right? So, so it's just this whole. I think one of the reasons this whole bootstrap worked was because this is that one thing that we focused on, and this is the one thing that I've been focusing personally on for the last 25 years, right? So it isn't, it isn't something that's happened overnight, and because we have identified that our edge is the core competency that we have in this industry of understanding the customers really well and being that customer. So we are like, why need the deep pockets? Like deep pockets are not going to bring any additional benefits here. So the way we are fighting this out is by saying we have an edge over our competition, by being nimble and by understanding our customers better and blah blah. So we intend to keep it that way, and and it's beautiful actually. I mean, running a business without having anyone to answer to is, I mean, it's because today we have invested in a lot of startups, so I kind of understand. yeah, we have this incubator, where we invest into, uh, you know, financial startups. I mean, in a sense, money brings obligation. I mean, whatever, however cool an investor is, right? I mean, if someone's taken
How
money,
is an investor?
uh, zero interference. I mean, we've invested in quite a few of them. If you were to ask them, I've never ever asked what they do. I mean, only reason, okay, the backstory to this investment is that we run this uh, a thing called Rain Matter, which where we invest
Actor.
Rain Matter,
Huh.
and so. So as a business, we were trying to solve this problem of education and execution. But then we realized that this problem of that we are trying to solve caters to maybe just 0.5% of India's population, right? Because people who have an intent to buy or sell stocks are very few, and people who want to learn how to buy or sell are very few, right? And we kind of knew that to grow the markets, you need a niche experience, and we kind of started inviting startups to kind of build on top of us, right? And we said we will take care of your compliance costs
Huh.
and all of that, I mean, compliance, regulatory, all the red tape, so we will take care of that. And so there are 12 really cool startups there, and uh, yeah, so that's essentially how this whole Rain Matter thing has happened. And
When did
there,
you start this? When was this?
this was 2016 onwards, 2016, 17, so. And and also the thing about this whole money thing, right? I mean, in my previous avatar, I used to manage people's money. So it's not this whole bootstrapping, it's also got that history to it. Because I used to run this portfolio advisory business before this, and I hated the obligation money brings. So and so when there was an option to do it without having to, without being that
You
obligated.
understand money very well.
No, no, yeah, I mean, money is just my the whole business, whole my career has been just around every day is a P&L, so you know, as even before Zerodha, this whole when I used to trade the markets or when I used to manage people's money, right? Every day, because otherwise, when you run other types of businesses, right, you don't know if you're doing well or not, right? As in, it takes time. It's delayed kind of result. In stock markets, it's instant, right? As in, end of at 3:30, you know what you did for the day and what
Yeah.
you've done for the year. So there is, uh, yeah. So yeah, so that's I think that's one of the reasons why we've also stayed away from raising money, because I used to have at one point almost like 150 customers whom I used to manage their money, and these were all retail, like between 10 to 25 lakh kind of customers. So they're not super rich. So so they're scared about their money also. So there was a lot of, if market goes down, I get a call saying, Nithin, are you okay? So, so uh, yeah, so that's probably also has played its part in this whole not having to raise money in this journey.
And of course, you've done very well and you are doing very well. But if you had to look back, and then today, because there's so many entrepreneurs who will be watching this, who will watch this, who will be listening to you, and everyone has very different situation, scenario, choices. If you had to look back and say, in their decision making process, whether to raise or not, just purely from a decision making process, to raise or not, how would you say one should look at the decision?
No, no, like I said, right? I mean, I think I love my sports. Okay, I play like like I think a lot all kind of sports. Running a business is almost like playing a sport. Like I said earlier, right? You need to look at what you're trying to build and see if you have some kind of an edge, right? As in over your competition, and see if that edge can be maintained for the next few years. Can someone tomorrow morning wake up and build what you're doing and just take away that edge from you, right? As in, if you think that's a scene, I think you have to raise money, right? Because you have to put distance on the competition, right? Because if it seems like it's something that can be easily copied and it can easily be done by someone else, right? So there is no two ways about it. I don't think you should say because you are giving a chance to your competition to catch up on you really fast,
Yeah.
right? And but then if you're building something which is very tough for others to come catch up, like like something like what we were trying to do, right? Because in our business, it's just not the product. It's building a trading platform is probably one of the most complex things to do in this country. There is, you have to, you're relying on, it's actually much tougher than building a bank itself, because in a banking kind of a platform, you're interacting with your customers and you're not really relying on any third party, right? We have to rely on, I don't know how many things, right? We have to rely on the exchanges, we have to rely on the lease lines connecting to the exchanges, or all of these things, right? So, and then there's also the regulatory moat in our business, right? So if you, for example, you get, someone listening gets inspired today to become a stockbroker, right? Tomorrow morning you go apply, it'll take you 2 years before you are actually live, right?
Wow.
Because right from application to setting up your infra to all of these, it's at least a 2-year journey. So so all of these things I knew in my mind all the time, right? And then once you have all of this, the third thing which I said is credibility, right? Which is, will people trust a brand with money, right? It's not going to happen overnight, right? But if I was not a stockbroker and I was just another platform, say selling mutual funds, for example, right? Because being a stockbroker is different from selling mutual funds. Anyone can sell mutual funds, and in a mutual fund selling business, the person selling mutual fund is not a custodian of client assets, right? Because the trust factor comes into play when the other person is holding your securities, right? Which is what we do as a business. And so yeah. So in my head, it's always, I'm constantly mapping out every single competitor and trying to say who is how much far behind us right now in terms of product and in terms of all of these things. The day I think someone is really, really close, or it feels like he can catch up, we will have to find a way to put some distance. So.
And you are nimble, so you'll be able to do that.
I'm hoping, so,
I want to ask you now that you said something very interesting, more of your business especially, but most businesses today have to perform, the basic yardstick has become trust.
Right.
Yours, of course, out and out.
Right.
But for today, and especially in the world of social media, in the world where everything is so all out there, right? Like everyone has to have an element of trust. Nithin, I want to ask you, like Zerodha, when you would have started, right? Trust comes in a matter of time.
Right,
Trust build hota hai, matlab wo time ke saath aata hai. And today Zerodha stands for trust, and people know there is trust. But wo initial days mein, how did you go about establishing ki trust kare?
No, I mean, so the thing is, like I said, one of the things that benefited quite a bit. So there were two things I did in my previous avatar that has helped me quite a bit. So 3.5 years I worked in a call center, right? I used to, sell stuff over the phone.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
2001 to 2005.
Wow.
What happened was I went and I was trading, and this whole new thing got introduced in stock exchanges in India called futures and options. And yeah, I mean, I kind of blew up all my money one day, and I had borrowed money and I had blown up. So I had to go find myself a job. In 2001, call center were like the coolest thing that was happening in Bangalore. Good-looking woman. It was in the, you had time, and you had, you could trade during daytime, you could work in the nights. It was all of those privileges came along. So I used to sell on the phone, right? And that whole cold calling I've done for 3.5 years.
Wow.
I think I've learned most of my life skills in those 3.5 years trying to sell people on the phone, because it's extremely tough, And the other thing that happened was, like this previous avatar is I told you, right? This whole sharing business, which is educating people all the time, talking about stock markets, etc. So when we started in 2010, there was already like a few thousand people who knew me, right? In a sense, who didn't know Nithin, but they knew his personality online, and so a lot of these very like today as they call growth hacking kind of things happen, which is a lot of these forums I started plugging in Zerodha, and you know what, there is this new company called Zerodha, has someone heard about it, and so subtle ways of pushing it. And I did a lot of cold calling the first 1 year, right? So I used to call myself Sachin because
Sachin.
Yeah, because you can't have the CEO doing cold calls. I've actually gone picked up I don't know how many account opening forms saying I'm
Uh,
Sachin. Yeah.
uh,
So yeah. So I mean, I guess I mean I don't think there's anything easy in life, right? I mean, you have to do all of this, to, and then hope to get lucky sometime.
No, no, no. But one underlying thing, Nitin, I'm seeing this, what you said as growth hacking, that you had, uh, one of the thing that is running across, and I don't know if you are also seeing this, is that you were sharing information from 1997 to 98, from 97, 98, and you said that, with a different name, but you
Yeah,
had this following,
yeah,
1,000 people or the whatever the number
yeah,
is, that you had consistent, good, generous behavior of
yeah,
sharing information, giving information, and being generous in sharing. And I
right.
think that also created credibility and
Uh,
trust, right?
I mean, see, the thing is, when you do things with expectation, right, it doesn't come true, right? As in, if no,
Yeah.
I mean, like when I'm talking to you
Agenda
today,
driven. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, there is no, but then when people, there are certain people who do it without any expectation, right? Like, assuming you go ask me something in an online forum, right? And I come spend half an hour explaining. Now, I've left an imprint in your head, right? Saying,
Yeah.
who's this guy who's taken so much effort? There is no ad in this platform. There's nothing, I don't know why this guy has done this, right? So
Yeah.
there's so many people, who, that come to me and say, Nithin, I met this friend of yours. I met this friend of yours. I am a complete antisocial. Okay, you'll never ever find me out in a party or anywhere. So I'm either in the office or in my house. Right. So all these friends are essentially people who think they are my friend because I've spent time answering their, you know, uh, problems, online. So
I
it's
want to say this word. This is maybe sounds like a jargon, but there's also a book called Conscious Business. And I was just thinking that, and it's like a huge buzzword, conscious, being conscious and consciousness in business. And somewhere to me, what I want to again say here is listening to you is that good guys make it big, and conscious, being conscious and
I,
being generous in business is, not wrong, because sometimes we just pardon me saying this, but you think that वो जो street smart होते हैं ना, बहुत चालू types के होते हैं, they succeed, they go on, but it's not that. Being conscious and being generous also builds trust.
no, and I think in today's world, right, where you're so closely connected because of the social media, I think this whole karma plays out much faster than this whole talk about do good, karma comes back to you, goes around and all. I think it happens faster in today's world than it used to happen before. Right. So do a few good things to people and it comes back to you in some other form. So it's happened to us through our business, through our journey, and
No,
it's
no, I wanted to bring this out because that's the pattern I'm seeing. And to answer on the question, like the question I had on trust, yes, of course, consistent performance has built Zerodha as a very trusted brand. But from what I hear, the backstory
yeah,
of giving, and,
yeah,
and that actually started with, there was trust at the core of it from the beginning.
right.
And of course, you had to perform to build on top of it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, and yeah, so it's the thing is trust comes one through sharing. Second, I mean it comes through like every action of yours. Like like every product that we build, like we care for customers first, and and then revenues later. So like if you ask anyone on our team, we not a single person in our office, for example, has a revenue target, right? I don't know if it's a right thing or a wrong thing, right? As in, right? So because in our business, right, if you give a target to someone, he's gonna miss sell, right? And then in our business, selling financial products, people miss sell for making some small incentive. They might end up mis-selling a really massive product to the customer, right? uh, like I said, right, I don't know if there's a right way to run the business. In hindsight today, it seems to have worked. It potentially, could not have worked as well, right? So, but I think people, like one of the reasons I come and talk about it is to tell people that there is another way to build a business. You don't have to be this whole cutthroat businessman, pushing down targets on everyone.
And I, like you said in the beginning, the first answer, what you are most proud of, you said the team.
Mm.
So caring for the customer, and you have cared for your team, like by not giving them.
Yeah. No, I mean, see, the thing is, if business does well, I mean, see, the thing is, we're lucky that the business has done well, right? So, like for example, in this whole COVID time, we've actually given bonus to our team members, right? Saying,
Wow.
you might have family and friends or in trouble, so take this extra money, and if you can help someone, please help someone, right? And the reason we can do that today, I mean, it's not like I'm doing it because I'm like this good-hearted son or something like that, right? I mean, we're doing it because we've been lucky as a business that we are in a position where we can do it. Right
Yes.
now, if I was a business, I was not making money and I was in debt and I had to pay interest, I couldn't have done it. I mean, it's uh, so yeah. So I mean, it like I said, right? A lot of these things seem brilliant when I say it, but then a lot of it is just right place, right time. And it's just a lot of goddamn luck, so that I'm able to say stuff like this. So.
Nithin, sorry, but I have to, because this is a master class. There are learnings coming, and I have to keep on highlighting. But one of the things I'm going to highlight is what I disagree with what you said, that things have worked and that's why you've done. I think things work for many people, but they don't do. We've seen some of the large businesses, large corporates, large organizations, very well, heavily funded organizations don't do. So I think it's also, yes, luck. We all of us are in some way, luck and karma plays a role, but also proactively doing it. And some way you've done it, and some way you've taken care of your employees and team uh, at this time. To all the entrepreneurs who are considering, who are in the market to raise money, and this is going to be a tough year. And
Right.
I'm hearing from investors, not just this year, this will, extend to next year. It is going to be a tough year. What are some of the things that you would say from your own learning that they should be looking at and considering?
See, the thing is, I've blown up 3 times in my life. Okay, so I've not blown up from 2006 onwards. Blown up is when you made some money and then you suddenly went into a large debt, right? And uh, one of the things I think that has personally helped me, like what I fixed in my nature, which has helped me from 2006 till now, is this: I do something only when I can make peace with the maximum loss. Right? That
Okay.
means, like I wouldn't do anything if I can't make. No, I'm gonna. Any opportunity comes, I'm always thinking, dude, what's the maximum loss of this? Then I think, can I make peace with this loss? Right? Because if you can make peace with that loss, you can remain sane, right? And if you can remain sane, you will take rational decisions,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't make peace with it, what happens? You end up doing irrational things, which most likely will be stupid things that you shouldn't be doing, right? So I think the first most thing, I think, so even when you're the reason this, I think this whole learning came in was because of stock market trading. Because in trading, you're taking so many decisions day in, day out, right? Every day you're buying and selling stocks. Unless you can make peace with it, one, you'll die of anxiety, if you don't do it. Right? A second, you can't make money as a trader,
Yeah.
So I'd say, for all people running business, it's the same thing, So right now, I think you need to sit down and say, assume the next 2 years are going to be bad, right? And think of what's the max loss, right? And the biggest, I think, lesson to learn in life is to have a stop loss on everything, right?
You have to.
Have a stop loss on everything. You have to say, you know, you can't let your ego come in and try procrastinating and kind of trying to delay the eventual decision,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because what happens is, uh, because typically no one likes to lose, right?
yeah,
And no one likes to pull the plug off. I
yeah.
think I don't know if it's the right, I don't know if you expected me to say something optimistic, but I think this situation that we are in is quite serious, right? I think we can assume the next 2-3 years are going to be quite bad. And I think the first thing everyone has to do is that, if let's sit down and say, what if the next 2-3 years are really horrible? Can I think of 3 years from now and say, would I have survived this 3 years? Right? Be with more fundraising. I mean, even this whole funding, right, is a stopgap, right? As in, you're just delaying the eventuality. Unless you somehow there is a better acceptance for your product suddenly, or your revenue starts picking up, etc. Funding is not on its own not going to give anything, right? As in, uh, so I don't think more than funding, it's about just sitting down and thinking about your product and saying, are you really building the right thing? Is this thing that you're building, people are going to pay money for using it, right? And
I'll ask you this question. Because, in the last 10, 12 years, I've seen many startups, many entrepreneurs, and many a times myself, me included, we get so attached to what we are doing and we love it. If you tell me your story, Shraddha, matlab you could do better. Yeah, you could write better, you could do better. I'm like saying, how do you know? I'm doing the best. Like, right? And that's why I'm saying that looking at your own product, looking at your own service, what you are building, how do you build that honesty lens when you are so passionately close to what you are creating? How do you do that? How
No, no,
does the process
I mean,
happen?
loving your product is one thing, right? But the thing is, how many people are actually using your product? There is no the proof lies in the
Yeah,
pudding. Yeah, so
yeah,
it's you if someone's building this product and no one's using it and you're passionate about it, I mean, uh, there's no point. As in, so unless there are users who are on the platform using it, be it for money or not money, whatever, right? But you have some kind of a user. Right now, a lot of people assume that raising funds is somehow going to bring the users, which
yeah.
is not true, right? Which is, I mean, raising funds are going to give you more distance to find users, but you still have to go out and find the users. So,
No, we've
and,
seen that in the last years, right? Like,
right,
funding doesn't lead to users, or at least staying users.
correct,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, you do all these cashbacks, etc. You'll get short term bursts, but no, I'm saying. So I think all founders have to sit down and say, are there users for this product, and can that somehow grow? As in, and if it doesn't, I think what this whole current situation will do is, I think it's going to throw up a lot of new opportunities. Right? I think the world post this is a very different world to how it was before,
yeah,
and uh, and the and the founder who's got this experience of running a business, he's probably best suited to build a new business for this new world, right? Because he's come with the experience of building a business and experience. The problem is, you have this baggage of trying to fix this thing that's not working, right? And then you let go of opportunities that could make sense for you. As in, so typically that's the first thing. Even our customers itself, right? A lot of people write to me and saying, "Dude, Nithin, I trade the markets. I don't make money. What should I do?" I said, "Stop trading." I mean, if you're not able to make money trading the markets, putting more money, it's just throwing good money at bad money. So it's find something else to do in your life, right? As in, you have to give yourself a runway and say, I'll do this till then. If it works, uh, you know I'll continue doing it. But if it's not working, I'm gonna pull the plug someday, right? As in, people have to get up and have that plug out, like what I call a stop loss. Like, you have to have a stop loss kind of a plan, which is, I think, even more important in a time like this, because I think the last 8-10 years, this whole industry, it's a bull market. Let's all be honest, right? As in,
yeah.
right? I mean, I think we're all spoiled. Generally, the most businesses out there have been spoiled. I don't think uh, you know all these companies are ready for this next 3-4 years of volatility. And so yeah, my advice would be that sit down and see if you have users for your product, and see if uh, uh, somehow the user growth can happen. And if it does, if you don't see that happening, I don't think don't bother raising funds, and actually pull the plug, and you know and just keep your eyes open for the next opportunity that shows up in the next 1-2 years. So,
I find this a very real input. I wouldn't call it advice because I hate advice. But it's a very real input. Like what you're saying is that let's reflect and satya yahi hai ki user hai ya nahi
yeah.
hai.
No,
And
the
right.
thing is, let's be honest, right? I mean, the person who's got the user doesn't need this advice or input. Right? Nothing is actually listening to me saying what he should be doing the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the person who is probably listening is who wants to know what to do, are probably people who are actually not having users, or
Or
not
very
seeing.
early days, very early days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Nitin, a question I wanted to ask you was, see, you started Zerodha, of course, you were working, and you said that you were managing wealth for some time for some of these retail investors. I want to ask you, you didn't have a prior experience of building such a large business, right?
Right.
What did you do? Because you started it, and from zero it became like $1 billion plus. What were some of the things which you as an entrepreneur made, the journeys and the changes you did, and some of the things that you did in
Right.
team building, for organization building?
See, the thing is, like, if I were to say that I intentionally planned something and I did it, I'd be lying, because it was just accidental, So, I mean, I've gone with what my gut says,
Yeah.
and that gut's played out okay. But I think, like I said, right, I think, yeah, I think what I've, cared the most for has been the team, So, right, and if no, of course I care for the product, I care for the customers, etc. But I think I've cared more for for the team, than the rest, and uh, especially the core team, because the first 100 people work closely with me, right? So at all time, uh, as much effort I'm taking to educate people outside our customers, I take same amount of effort for our team as well. So I'm constantly pushing people to. So we have this internal, like, a community forum where I'm constantly pushing people to learn more, etc., etc. And we've done stuff like, like, we're probably one of the few guys who run an ESOP buyback program, right? So we give loans against at zero cost almost,
Wow.
uh, uh, so all of that, like I said, right, like in this COVID situation, we suddenly opened up and we said, people need money, why don't you take your bonus right now, and stuff like that. So, like, amongst everything that I think, accidentally I've done right in this, building this business, I think the most right I've done is just uh, this whole thing that I care for our team more than um, anything else. Like, if right now someone who is part of the core team calls me up, and I'd do anything for him. So, um,
No, I
uh,
know, I know. I met your brother. I have interviewed him, and I was talking to him, and I thought that first I thought maybe he's saying because he's your brother. But he said it not in it didn't come that in the way that, oh, he's praising because he's your brother, but he was saying more in terms of what he is not good at and what you are far better at. He said that you genuinely care for your team, and he's very good at inspiring and motivating people. And he said he's more shy, and but Nithin does it like it comes naturally. He inspires. So
no,
yeah.
I mean, I'm shy outside the office. He is shy in the office, and he's not shy outside the office. So, yeah, no, I mean, we kind of, I think, are a good combination, because I am an eternal optimist, right? I believe everything is an opportunity. This I want to do, right? And he just, he's just a person. Like, he keeps pulling me down. He just says, "Dude, it'll not work. It'll not do it. It'll not do it." So he in a way slows me down a bit. So, but yeah, but I think. Amongst a lot of things that I've, like I said, in this journey of the last 10 years, one is, um, take care of the team. I think the second most, I think, the best thing I did was move away from our tech team. For like, for almost 1-2 years, I used to sit in the middle of our tech team, trying to inspire, like, and a lot of these, like, me and Kia had this whole debate, not debate, like, he came to me one day and said, "Nithin, dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to inspire," like, because what happens is, I'm sitting right in the middle of all these guys, and all of these guys can't say no to me, right? And every day I want to please all our customers, so I'm just throwing open all these projects, and so, they're almost like this ping pong ball, like, like those, pinball, right? They're just going here, here, here between products and projects. And I think around 2017 is when me and him had this discussion. He came and said, "You know what, you're slowing down." And I said, "Yeah, dude, maybe I am." And I walked out from that day. And the productivity, everything of tech team improved so much, so drastically, And so I think, I think one of the things that non-tech guys shouldn't do is, I think, interfere with the tech guys, in the sense, you trust your team, your tech team, and then let them do it, because like at least my experience of myself, I've seen a bunch of others as well do it. Now we all think we're intellectually there, and we know more about life and product and etc. Right? And you kind of try to over interfere in the product building and you slow it down.
Yeah.
So I think one of the other things that I did right, and which has helped drastically over the last 3 years, is just staying away. Just you discuss, you debate about what to build, etc., and all of that. But then don't be this, like this person trying to meddle in everything. So that's one of those learnings and things probably that I did. And no, on the business side itself, as I said, we've experimented so much. Like we've built like so many different kind of products. We take a crack at it. If it works, we let it be. If it doesn't work, we kill it. So many new initiatives, so many products, features. We've given a shot at. So it just said, like the more hands you play, which seem like they're good hands, the higher the chance of you winning it. So it's so yeah. So some things have worked, some haven't worked, and but this whole idea of experimenting with products and things, and not really, like I think a lot of people spend a lot of time to build that perfect product, right? And there's no perfect product, and this realization has been there right from day one. You have to put it out the world to try it out and tell you, if it's perfect or not. Because in your eyes, you'll never achieve that perfection. You'll always have something that can be better, right? And that we've done quite well as well. Is that we put out a beta out there for people to validate if it's a good product or not, instead of us trying to figure if it's good or not. And so that's also meant that we actually dish out products, updates and features much faster than our competition, right? Because we are not waiting for that 100% ready. Like for example, last Sunday we are working on a new charting library, and we were not like 100% sure if it's ready or not, because the problem is everyone has got a different kind of a device, mobile device, so you don't know if it's going to work in all kind of devices, and there's no way for you to test it out unless you put it out there, right? So we announced and we put it out there, and then we started getting feedback saying it's not working, what are you doing, you guys are useless, and right? But then if now that we know on what kind of mobiles it doesn't work, we can actually go back and fix it and launch it quickly, right? But otherwise, if I had to go figure out all the devices, all the places where it can work, etc., we could have, I think it would have taken us 6 months more before we can actually put that update out, So, so things like these have,
That's a very valuable feedback. That's a very, in fact, I see growth hacking there. Just get it out and get the users in the criticism itself. You'll get all the feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's tough to do it as you grow as a business, right?
Yeah.
You could do it because today, we trend for nothing on Twitter. Like there's like small little things, and it's like, dude, Nithin, why are you trending on Twitter? I'm like, what the hell? What just happened? So, but then, like I said, these things we can do because there's this whole flexibility of not having people to answer to, right? As in, like, if this goes wrong, I'm answering. Bunch of us are saying.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Nithin. In fact, now that you're saying this, I see a lot of drive coming from the business, from you, because if you launch a product and if it doesn't work,
right.
तो क्या होता है? What's the repercussion?
Oh, repercussion as in, yeah. So there is, social media repercussions. No, the thing is, what is critical? For example, if it's an extremely critical update, which doesn't allow people to buy or sell stocks, etc., that we are extremely careful about. What I'm talking about is all this, like if a charting doesn't work on a Sunday, it's no big deal, right? So I know we're taking risks where we can afford to take risks.
No, I'm just saying you don't have a board meeting to answer.
No,
I'm asking, do you have that?
No, and that's, like I said, right? That is the edge that we have as a business, right?
Yes.
which if I were to go raise money today, we will lose that edge. And and then our decision making will be like it is of large companies, which is slow. And a lot of people I know are trying to partner banks, right? This whole neo bank craze. And
Yes.
I mean, it's 2 years, 3 years. You take like it takes months to get an answer from one person, and then you get another 6 months to spend, right? I mean, you end up becoming like that. If for a size, a company of our size, if you were to raise money, we would have had, and how many departments and how many board of directors and etc. Right? So I mean, uh, so yeah. So I think uh, that is one of those positive things is just this bootstrapping, which is just your decision making is absolutely fast.
Do you guys have an active number that you chase active? Because you said for the revenue team you don't have a target. Products, there is this freedom that you have, but is there something, that goalpost or something that keeps on, like, hey, this is like what we have to chase as a success
Yeah,
metrics?
yeah. No, no. I mean, uh, so let's be honest. Okay, a lot of things that we do, it's essentially you're taking bet, right? As in you're taking, and I mean, if I've thought of this new feature. I'm just assuming that people will like this. For example, we applied for a mutual fund license, right? And someone was asking me, how much business will you do in 3 years? I said, dude, hell, how do I know how much I'll do in 3 years? I mean, of course, I can give a number and I say I'll do this many thousand crores of AUM or whatever, but just a random number I come up on an Excel sheet with, you know, it's just some hocus pocus. So it's so yeah. So no, I mean, I think uh, the way we look at success is just um, like people's reaction to the product, and uh, uh, it's I don't know how to put this, but success for us is generally what people say about. I mean, like anytime we launch a new product and feature, we are kind of tracking how many people are using it, and what is our total client base, what portion of the client base is using it, and then we determine if it's good or not.
Again, from a space perspective, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, but I can't hear him. Uh, like, so you'll have to get your laptop. I don't know why I can't hear him. Sorry to everyone,
No,
and
no, that's
sorry
okay.
to you. Now that you mentioned, and I'm going to pick up that neo bank from there.
Right.
Uh, now that you are in broking space, we are assuming that you know fintech space very well, which is the hottest sector, and the sector very much in demand, seen lot of investments, and neobanks are the new flavor of the season.
Right.
Tell us, and for all the entrepreneurs there, how do you see the fintech space in India? And what are some of the opportunities from your lens? Because somewhere your guts and your instincts work. So
Right.
tell us some of the opportunities that you see in the fintech space.
Yeah, so my core competency is around savings and investing, right? As in, when it comes to people's finances, is where is what I track very closely. And I think one thing is given is that this whole interest rate cycle has turned, right? As in, I think interest rates, the money, the yield that you'll get for keeping money in your bank account is going to keep reducing, and banks will. I don't think banks will lend money very easily. So, which means they are going to be flush in cash. So that means there's always going to be pressure in how much you can make from your banks. So, and I think Indians are not ready for the risk of equity markets. Stock markets are extremely volatile, and I don't think the masses in India are still ready. I think we are 10, 15 years, maybe, probably not 10, 15 years, maybe 5 to 10 years behind, where, the maturity of the audience isn't there to handle the volatility of stock markets, which means that I think there's a big opportunity in fixed income, where, see, corporates are finding it tough to raise money. Banks are not lending money to corporates, right? So this whole bond market, is a very big component in the West. I mean, if you actually look at US, etc., before equity markets, there was this whole bond market, right? Which bond markets led to equity markets, right? So, in India, we have missed that out, right? As in, there's never been this whole fixed income kind of a market that retail had access to. So, So yeah, so I think personally, I'm very bullish on this whole opportunity of finding fixed income kind of assets for retail to invest into. I think neobanks kind of fall into that, where there are certain neobanks who are trying to say that I'm going to give you more interest than what you can make in your bank otherwise. Right? So I see a big opportunity there. Uh, the other opportunity is that you know I keep thinking about is this wealth management opportunity, which is um, can you help people save and invest better? Is what is the kind of opportunity there? Um, I think a lot of people have tried this cut copy paste of China and US and India, and it hasn't really worked. Um, so I think there's a big play there. But I don't think you can really copy paste what's worked somewhere else and do it here. Because see, at Zerodha, we only we are just enablers. People who have an intent to buy or sell come to us and use our platform. But I think there is this whole opportunity to be a platform which can help people to better invest, better save, etc. And yeah, so these are a couple of things that I'm looking at. Neobank, I'm close to a lot of these guys who are running neobanks, and um, like the issue with neobanks today, I think, is how do you really make money? So it's that's a bigger question. I think they all have to answer, which is because you're not allowed to make money on the float. So if people keep money, the bank gets to make it. So if you're not, as a bank, you make money by getting money at low cost and lending money at high cost. Right? Your spread is the money you make. So you're not really doing that as a neobank. So how do you really, make money then and scale, etc. Is I guess only time will tell, how these guys will play out.
Coming back, one of the things that Zerodha, I feel, is very proud of is, and as an outsider, that you have not spent any money in advertising, you've not spent any money in PR, in branding, but you built a brand.
Right.
You build a brand, and
Right.
today Zerodha is a brand. Do you think it? What do you think? This, this is, I'm putting this mic for this thing headphone, and it's like banging on my head. So do you think it comes? Do you think it takes time a little longer because you didn't spend? And was it a conscious decision to not spend any money because other players, and I'm sure your competitors, would be spending a lot of money, right?
Right. Yeah, no, like, see, the thing is, like I was telling you earlier, right, is that this whole saving and investing is not like, especially investing in stock market is not something that you decide, uh, you know, like at a whim, so you don't get up one day and say you want to buy stocks of Infosys or Reliance, right? There is an enabler of sorts. Um, so, one of the reasons for not doing this marketing and okay, sorry, you're able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
So,
very sorry. Yeah.
no, that's okay. So yeah, so there are multiple reasons. Okay, so when we started the business, right, one of the reasons for not marketing and I don't know if it sounds lame, but okay. So one big challenge when we opened the business, when we started the business, was people had to courier us their account opening forms. They had to print the forms, they had to sign it, send it to us to open an account. Right? And I had this whole logic of saying, if we advertise, it is almost like we want our customers more than the customers want us, right? Which is, I don't know, it's kind of a weird kind of a logic, but because in the sense, say for example, you are a customer of mine, you saw this newspaper ad, right, and you made a phone call to that number. Your first reaction is, "Koi kisi ko bhej do, account khol do," whatever, right? Does it? You send someone and I'll open an account. But we didn't really have a team to go open the account. Right? We wanted the person to actually print courier and send it to us, right? So we wanted to be in that stronger position. So when people called us up, we were like, "Dude, you want to open an account with us? So can you go print courier?" It's a different kind of a stance. That was my idea when we started the business. But like I said earlier, right, the realization was that marketing and advertisement will give us not real business. Like I said, people don't think of investing in the markets, like the way they want to buy a phone or a mobile, or anything else, right? As in, you decide to invest when your friend or family or someone enables you to, invest in the market. Now the thing about advertising is, what can your advertisement say, right? In India, actually across the world, regulators are very strict in terms of what a company can say in their advertisement. We can't sell greed, for example, right? I can't put an ad saying, "Come invest in the stock markets, make 30% per year." Right? If I could say it, I would have done it, right? Because greed is typically the enabler to get people to invest in the markets, right? Right, so if you can't sell greed, right? What are you selling, right? You're saying, "I have the best platform, come invest." Right? But then the problem is, every company is saying, "I have the best platform," right? How does someone looking at advertisement figure who is actually the best platform, right? So, yeah, it didn't make sense. The other thing is, in India, last year 6 million Indians invested in the market. So it's a really, really tiny number, right? And now, if you had to spend on marketing and advertisement, you are competing with someone like a Flipkart, Amazon, who's probably going after 200 million Indians, right? So you're paying the same, advertising dollars to compete with someone who's addressing 200 million Indians versus your 6 million Indians. So that math also didn't add up. In the sense, if I had 200 million Indians whom I could actually offer my product to, probably we would have done marketing and advertisement. Right? So, and the other thing was this whole story of, how does it make sense for Zerodha to be zero brokerage, right? You need, the story that we have told all this while is that the fact that we run on we are extremely low cost, right? We don't do marketing and advertisement, right? So people have to believe, right? So one of the big challenges right from the start of the business has been, when you say you're low cost, people question quality, right? If you're zero brokerage, what is the catch? Will you run away with my money, right? Of course, that question has changed as we have grown and become more credible as a business, right? But people in their head still think, how does it make sense for a business to do this at zero brokerage and etc. Right? And our answer to it always has been that we don't spend on marketing and advertisement. So we run extremely frugal kind of a business, and that's how it makes sense for us to do it at such low cost. Right? So it's like it's almost like that itself is a branding. The saying that I don't do advertisement is itself a branding. And and then what happens is, what we realize is, one of the biggest source of new customers for us is word of mouth, right? Our customers actually referring their friends and family, right? So we've almost created this whole brand of saying, "Oh, here's this company which relies on you as a customer to grow its business," right? So a lot of our customers actually talk about us to their friends and family, because they know that we don't advertise, and they know that we care for them, so they want to in turn care for us. So
yeah.
Right? It's that's the story that we have sold as a business, and marketing and advertisement doesn't fit well here. So because if suddenly I do a full front page ad tomorrow, our customers will lose the connect with us as a company. So of course, today we can afford to do spend money on marketing and advertisement, but if we do it, then it this whole story that we have said, and this whole thing that has happened for us as a business, we kind of end up disconnected with our customers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because you said that the total number of people who are trading today is 6 million.
Last year, people who invested in the market is 6 million. They're probably, this is 6 million directly into stocks. They're probably around 13-14 million through mutual funds.
Yeah, but still, let's say 20 million, right?
Yeah, that's the max. Yeah, the whole country which is investing in the markets is 20 million.
That's very, very less, no?
Yeah, see, the thing is, who are the people who invest in the stock markets, right? People who have money with them.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have money, you're not going to invest. Right? India is just, a lot of numbers which don't matter, right? Now, out of the 130 crore Indians, you can take away 80 crore Indians because, they're kind of below poverty line in the sense they can't invest, right? Now, in this 30 crore Indians, who have the money. A lot of them have money. Agriculture income and cash and all of that jazz, right? So the tax filing Indians, for example, is just 5 crore Indians, right? As in, uh, so out of that 5 crore Indians, if 1.5, 2 crore Indians are investing, which is not a bad number, right? So we can't look at 2 crore and think, this is a mistake a lot of startup founders do in India, who are focusing on building business, is that they just look at 130 crore Indian number and say, we can be this percentage of this
That's the story that sells, no?
Yeah, so it's crazy how shallow the markets are. It's there isn't, like I said, in this whole investing in savings space, probably 2-3 crore Indians are the only ones who have the money to actually save and invest. So you can't, you have to build business for these guys, and of course there is an opportunity to find the next 3 crore Indians who are kind of, who are, who are gonna eventually become the top, earners in the country, but yeah, I think it'll take time, and situation like what's happening right now with this COVID, etc. I think it's just going to delay this, wealth creation in the next 2-3 crore Indians.
But I also see for Zerodha that in the coming years, it's like, if I may say so, the story has just begun in a way, right? Because if you look at the market, so as the economy does well, as the market does well, there'll be more and more users coming to your platform.
See, the thing is, I can afford to sound pessimistic as a founder because, again, there is no investor to answer to. But I know I'm not sure about it. So I'm not sure.
Why do you say that?
No. I think the current situation, right? What is happening with?
Okay.
So, see, the thing is, stock market is a barometer of market, of how the economy performs, right? And of course, right now market fell, it's bounced back up, whatever, right? But I think this is, what's happening currently is going to have, I think, slowly it's going to affect businesses, and when it affects businesses, it's going to show up in the stock price, right? And if stocks don't do well, people won't invest, right? If you put some money in stocks, you will put more money only if the stocks that you have invested have done well. That's the nature of most people, so they don't put money when your investment value is going down, right? You would, if your investment value is going down, you essentially go into conservation mode and you say, oh, let it recover and then I'll invest. So there's so much uncertainty right now. So I'm not really sure if next 1 to 3 years is good for for a business like us. Of course there's gonna it's gonna I don't know if what happened 2 months back is about bottom. I think there are tougher times, like that's what my gut says, right? And anyways, like I told you in the start, right? I'm always trying to make peace with the maximum loss, and so right now, the peace that I'm making, is far below where we are at right now, and and we are just generally trying to be prepared as a business for that worst case outcome. And
so do you keep a 2-year horizon while you run the business?
The thing is, right now, like how a lot of these founders, a lot of founders who raise money look at, they look at a runway, etc. So right now, we, at the current cost, we are good for the next 6-7 years, So that's how much.
6-7 years.
Yeah, so
you're going on record to say that at current cost, that is phenomenal. Like that's how businesses should be built. That's phenomenal. Like I've not heard this. I've not heard it from. Yeah, I've not heard this.
No, because it's like I think right now people should be thinking. I don't think 1-2 years is the right measure. Because I think what's happening with the world right now is just ridiculous. I think it's almost out of a movie, and and we because a lot of us are locked down in our houses. I think we still don't realize the reality of what's actually happening in the world outside. And so I like, will I actually wait for 6-7 years if things go bad? I probably won't, because I have a stock essentially. So, but there is a way to like I said, if things don't really turn okay, there is a way to fight it out for a while. So and that kind of keeps you, like I said, it keeps you, in a nice, sweet, peaceful spot.
So I think I've asked as many questions, but people will they get upset if I don't, because there are a lot of questions coming on. किस stock में अभी invest करना चाहिए? As you can make out, I don't have any clue and understanding, and I've already made a fool of myself talking to your brother that time. So I have no understanding which stock works. So, but give us some advice.
No, I mean, I would have no idea what, like, I don't. So the thing is, one of the things we haven't done as a business, right, is actually advisory, because one of the learnings. See, the thing is, we've always tried not to do things which can potentially hurt our word of mouth, right, from happening, right. So a lot of our competitors, right, use this relationship managers and advisors to actually do the business. The problem with advisors, people don't follow advice, right? I mean, my mom has said, don't drink, I'll want to go drink, you know what I mean? So it's, so like inherently we are wired to not follow advice, right? But the problem with advice is, if it works, you don't get credit. If it doesn't work, you get the blame, right? And so it's almost like one of those heads you win, tails I lose. There's no winning.
Yeah.
So there is no point advising anyone, because they're not going to follow it in any case. So yeah. So it's we have stayed away, especially in the stock advisory business. The problem is, that advice is actually leading to a monetary gain or a loss, right? And people can potentially blame us for saying, because of you, I lost money. So, and then that imprint, lives in their head. So, no, I, to be very honest, I mean, my perspective right now is that I think it's one of those times it's better to be more in cash than in stocks.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of brokers will say it, but so.
I'm not broker, so I said, but you as a broker saying it is a very big new novelty.
No, so I think people, if people have question on should I hold this stock, should I not hold it, that most likely means that they're over invested in stocks. So maybe it's a good time to exit some and stay in cash. And
okay. Okay. Drew, are you going to be coming up with what are some of the new initiatives, if you can disclose, on with Zerodha, and plans with Rain Matter? Because you've invested in 12 companies, you mentioned.
Yeah, with Rain Matter, I mean, so one of the other things that, so Kailash, who heads our tech, right, is one of those proper idealist kind of guy. So if I drive my car, he's like, dude, why do you need such a big car for one person? So take a small car, like, climate change and all of that. But over the many years being around him, I've gotten influenced. So one thing that we are extremely passionate about right now is this whole, so I think, I truly believe right now that, the way we are all reacting to this COVID situation, we should be reacting to climate change as well, right? Because, it's just that we are just delaying, the action, because the deterioration of this planet is happening slowly, right? As in, so it's not like a COVID where everyone, suddenly someone's dying, right? As in, the day, this whole climate change problem goes off hand, I don't think there's any fixing it. There's no vaccine, right, that can suddenly fix it. So this is the cause that, that we closely, truly believe in. And with Rain Matter, so we are starting this Rain Matter Climate, where we are investing into startups that are, working on climate change.
Wow.
And there are not too many VCs, Ps in that space, because I don't think it's there's any
sexy.
money. It's not even sexy. It's more than that. I think there's no how do you make money and how do you return capital, etc. I mean, this is this return of capital is more in terms of impact than in terms of actual absolute ROI, right? So so we have found two companies to begin with, climate change that we are trying to support. Through Rain Matter, we are also taking the shot at building growing forests. Now, this has been something that's been close to my heart, which is nature and all of that. So we are trying to see if we can take large land banks and convert it into, natural food forests, which can kind of feed people, help climate change, and and we're also trying to see if there's a way we can rate the carbon credits that can be generated out of this forest, and then inspire other people to do it as well.
Wow.
So that's on Rain Matter. In terms of Zerodha, I mean, we applied for an asset management license. So we'll probably be a mutual fund in the next 1-2 years if we get the license. We have an NBFC, but then we don't understand unsecured lending. So the reason we have this NBFC license is people hold stocks with us. We want to lend money against stocks to them. The good thing about lending money against stocks is the rate of interest is much lesser, right? It's just like, you can actually borrow money at 11-12%. And I know a lot of people who have credit card outstanding who have stock market investing. So investments. So I mean, the idea is to tell them, borrow some money against your stocks and maybe close your credit card outstanding. But yeah, I mean, the NBFC is one thing, and there is we've been working on this piece which has gotten delayed, which is allowing Indians to invest in the US stocks. Because I think one of the other problems in India is most of us don't have access to invest into stocks whose products we consume. Right? Like personally, like capital markets around the world have grown when people have had access to invest into stocks that they aspire to own. Like like the whole boom in the US over the last 3-4 years is because of the FANGs. It's just like, people who are consuming Netflix and all of people actually wanting to buy those kind of stocks. So that's one attempt that we are making. So I mean, these are the things. I mean, of course, on our core product, we are constantly working on newer things. Until now, as a business, like I said, right, we've been focusing on execution and education. But one thing, I mean, we've done very well as a business, but one of those moral problems that I have is knowing that some of our customers are probably doing a mistake on our platform, because unlike other businesses, people when they come buy and sell stocks, they can, it's not like buying a TV or a mobile, right? As in, people actually put their savings and investments with us, and they can potentially end up making losses. Right? So one of those things, we have tried to solve for it by educating people, but then, like I said, the realization has been that people don't have the bandwidth to sit and learn. There's just too many distractions in today's world. And so on our platform itself, we're trying to nudge people into doing the right things. If they're making mistakes, is there a way we can nudge them away from it? For example, penny stocks. I don't know if you know penny stocks. Penny stocks are essentially very scammy kind of stocks. I mean, these are non-existing companies which get peddled by a lot of these tipsters saying, buy this stock, it's good for you, and etc. And so what we've done now on the platform is we have essentially disabled penny stock trading. In the sense, not disabled. If you're a user on Kite, if you went to our platform and wanted to buy a penny stock, we alert you saying, this is a penny stock, you can lose money, don't invest into it. We started doing things like that as well, and which we will continue doing over the next 1-2 years.
I'm going through all the questions while you're answering. Sorry, I got distracted because the questions are so interesting.
I'm guessing there will be some customer questions as well. Yeah.
No, actually, they are good ones. I don't know. Everything seems to be, you are taking things on with the right attitude and everything. And I don't think there is, at least you're not showing us any stress. But I would like to ask you, which I hear from Rajit, what keeps, not Rajit, Anonymous, what keeps Nithin Kamath awake at night?
I mean,
nothing.
No, of course. I mean, I'm constantly. One of the big problems I have is getting sleep in the night, and because there is always constantly new ideas coming in your head. It's just right. You can't shut down at all. And which is one of those things I miss out of my life, is that just to shut this brain and sleep well, which is extremely tough right now. No. I mean, I think one of the things that constantly runs in my mind is new ways to, growth hack, as they call it. So, but in terms of stress, the thing is, the big problem of this business that we are in, right, is that we can at any point of time lose more money than what customers have with them. In the sense, like this happened I think a month back. I don't know if you saw crude oil went into negative, right? As in, right. So that day when it went into negative, our customers lost money, right? They lost more money than what they had in their account, right? So they lost 10 crores more than what they had in their account. So essentially, we lost 10 crores that day, right? So, so these kind of black swan events can, can potentially cause us losses, and there is absolute no control on it, right? And there is no way for a person, like on that day, actually, Interactive Brokers lost $100 million, like one of the bigger brokers in the US, right? And there is no way any broker in the world could have controlled that loss, from happening, because this, like, who in the world would have thought something can go to negative and trade at negative value? It's like, so stuff like that can happen, and one of those things that I always, for me, like I said earlier, right? For me, it's about making peace with my max loss all the time. Right? But knowing the fact that there is this one thing, one black swan, which can potentially, kind of create a loss that you can't really anticipate is what, like, if say tomorrow morning, someone presses, like a button to fire a nuclear bomb, like, assume, right? There'll be impact for us, because it's the thing about stock markets. What most people don't realize is people who buy stocks wait for a few days for it to go up and sell it, right? Which is what a lot of people assume stock market is. Contributes 1% of the stock market turnover, right? 99% of the business in stock market comes from people who speculate, right? And people are speculating. They have bought and sold for more than what their money can give them, right? Which means it's like, the person who takes a 10%, puts down 10% to buy a house, right? Now, if the value of the house depreciates by more than 10%, the bank has no mortgage anymore, right? So I mean, so stuff like that, so those things, constantly are are in my head. Like every night, you think like, is the world safe, and will there be a black swan tomorrow morning? So, but apart from that, I don't really stress too much.
Yeah. There was one very interesting question which Kshitij had asked on Twitter. I don't know if you had seen that, but I want to, but just give me a second. I thought it was a very good question. So, what principles prevented you from making bad choices in business, especially nature of business where participants are motivated by greed?
Right. No, I mean, I think, yeah, it's a interesting question. No, I think, like, as a business, I don't think we're motivated by money. That has never been it. If you ask anyone who's worked with me from the start of the business, there has never been a rupee number. Right? I mean, all this unicorn and all this bullshit. I mean, I don't really care about it, and it's because, I mean, we get, like, you had to get some people clicking on it, so you had to use that word. So, but but I right. But I don't really, money has never been the motivator. Right? Money has been byproduct. I mean, there's this interesting, backstory to this. This person who cut me the first check when I started the business, back, when I started the advisory business, he had told me about this story about how, he showed me this photo of Saraswati and goddess Lakshmi, and he said, tell me what's the difference, right? And Lakshmi was sitting on lotus and Saraswati on a rock, right? And then he said, how lotus is, as in you swim towards it, you can't really catch it, right? I mean, you can, because lotus is floating and it's transient, in the sense it goes away from you. So the best way to get a lotus is just do right things and hope it comes to you. And and yeah, so I mean, that's a philosophy that we've followed, is that we're constantly trying to do what's best for us, our team, customers, and then and we're saying if money has to happen, it'll happen. It's very tough to be like that, but it's kind of, that whole, because otherwise what happens is money is a distraction. As soon as you start putting this whole number, I want to be $5 billion worth, I want to have this much crore. You start doing things to get there, right? As in
Yeah.
which may not really be what is really the right thing to do. As in, so if you're doing the right thing to do, and you say, if luck plays out well, probably money will happen to you, right? And that's the attitude with which we've built a business, and that's actually helped significantly. And not having this money as a distraction has just been brilliant. It's like, it doesn't matter. Someday someone will say, dude, you're so many thousand crores. Someone will say some other thousand. I'm like, all the money in my bank is the money I know I'm worth. So, and that's all matters. And I don't really care for the rest of it. And yeah, it's tough to be like that, I'm guessing, in this today's world, where people are trying to measure you by a certain net worth and etc. But
were you always like that, or it was were you always like that, or did this evolve over the course of time?
No, I think this is thanks to my trading career, right? Because day trading the stock markets is one of the toughest professions in the world, right? Because it's an emotional roller coaster, right? Because every trade you do can make or lose you money, right? And you're doing, say, 50, 100 of them during the day, right? And now if you start bothering about how much money you're going to make or lose on every trade, there is no way you can survive day trading the markets now. And there is no way you can make money as a day trader or survive day trading. So I'm guessing that's a learning that came through because of trading, and having to deal with money so often and so frequently. And it kind of, I think it just kind of flew along with me, when we started in the business as well. So, the same kind of an attitude of not caring for, it's about the process, it's about the method, doing the right things, and not caring for money. And for example, I love playing poker, and poker is exactly the same. So you can't, you can't just play for the money. You have to just follow process, and if money happens, it happens. Otherwise it won't. So it's you can't really control it.
Nithin, listening, now we are actually, it's going to be 2 hours and we've been chatting and we can go on talking to you because there's so much to learn. And honestly, I'm very inspired and so would so many people. I can say on behalf of everyone who would be watching this, very, very inspiring. To me, listening to you in the last close to 2 hours now, one of the things that comes across is that you enjoy the process. You've enjoyed the process all along. Tell us, because somewhere I think we have all forgotten to enjoy the process. And everyone is chasing some kind of an outcome. And I think this is, again, COVID times, difficult times, and people are reflecting. I can see that you enjoyed the process. So tell us, what has this meant?
No, see, the reason I think I enjoy it this much is because we as a business are building a product for me as a customer, right? As in, this is essentially what I wanted as a trader for 15 years before Zerodha happened, right? So this isn't a random problem I picked up in a coffee shop. This isn't, I actually lived this problem for 10, 12 years before Zerodha started, so and every customer of ours I can relate to because I almost feel like that customer, so it's I think this whole thing is so much more exciting when you're building something that you consume, right? As in a sense, like you're actually building it for yourself, and that's I think one of the reasons why this me enjoy. If I were to probably build a restaurant, I wouldn't maybe be able to do this, right? Because I don't think I think like I said, right? I like one of those questions that a lot of people ask me is, I've been through my school, college, I've probably been the worst in the class, right? Through my school and college, right? And I still remember, when I was in an engineering college, my HOD called my mom and said, "No, I got psychological problem." So a lot of people had, I think, like the entire friends, family, etc. No one had hopes on me of me being able to do anything in my life. Everyone,
Really? Are
absolutely,
you sure?
100%. You can ask every single friend of mine, every from a school and etc. And everyone would tell you that if there was one person who they would bet money on that he will not do anything in life, it would be this person. So,
Really? Hard to believe. Okay.
no, it's not. I mean, like, no, but I think, see, the thing is, like, what I was trying to get to was, I think I got extremely lucky in my life to find something that I love to, right? And I built my business, my career, etc. around it, right? And that's a big challenge most people have in their lives, right? Is that you don't really find something that you love doing. As in, I
Yeah.
can, right? I can talk about stock markets for hours together. I can trade for hours together. I can sit and work for hours together because there's something I love doing. This is essentially, it doesn't even feel like business. It doesn't feel like work, right? And I think for most people in their lives, I think it's about just the discovery of that one thing that people like to do. Like, I can, for example, see in you that you're extremely passionate about what you do, right? As in, now you just need some goddamn luck to hit and no.
Become $1 billion.
Yeah, so so yeah, so I think I mean, all these enjoying processes, etc., is all a factor of the underlying factor, which is you love the stuff,
What you do.
what you do. So,
Before you go, what
yeah.
would you like to tell everyone who's watching this and to all the entrepreneurs, to all of us who are dealing with a lot of uncertainty?
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, sit down and try to figure the worst case outcome of this, and don't get emotional or egoistic about it. And, just try to figure that works. I think like I think I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneur friends of mine, and I think the best decision for a lot of these guys is to plug off, pull the plug. So because if you haven't seen user growth over the last 2-3 years, you most likely won't see over the next 2-3 years, and funding is not going to get you there. Right? I think funding is just going to delay this eventuality. So take the tough decisions. Usually, tough ones are the right ones.